Hi, welcome back to my channel. My name is Pooja. I'm an integrative nutritionist and I work with women who have hormonal issues. This is a series that we are doing on PCOD, and in this particular video I'll be talking about the first factor which affects PCOD, and that is insulin. So what is exactly insulin and how does it impact your hormones which leads to a PCOD problem? So insulin is actually a hormone which gets released whenever we eat food. So just to give an example, if you are eating a chapati, then the chapati gets broken down into smaller molecules in your digestive tract and it converts into glucose, which is the smallest form of chapati, which is the source of energy for you. You eat chapati because you need energy. So now this glucose now goes into the cell, and that is where the glucose gets converted into energy, and that's how you get energy from food. The glucose is of no use if it is in the blood or is in the digestive system. It needs to go into the cell. So for the food or the glucose to go into the cell, you need insulin. So every time you want energy and you want the glucose to go into the cell, insulin is what does the job. It gets released from the pancreas and it knocks on the door of the cell, and the glucose goes in and then converts into energy. So insulin is one of the most important hormones to control your energy levels and your digestion. Now, how does insulin actually now becoming a problem? I always go back to how our ancestors lived and how our older people who are doing agriculture, who were foragers, who were hunters, how did they live? Because that's how our bodies evolved. And from since then to now, the body hasn't really evolved that much. So we are still, working in the way ancestors worked. Bodies are physiologically still the same. However, lifestyle has completely changed. So that is why we are having such problems which are new in terms of how body is reacting to it. So when we were ancestors and we were foragers and hunters, we would go out and gather food from plants and trees, whatever we got, we just had that. And when we ate the food, we obviously insulin got released and we got energy out of it. Now, even when we were doing agriculture, you would have seen that nowadays also in small villages, we did not have things to store our food. So fridges were not there. So accessibility to food was not that much. So you would eat in the morning, then leave for the fields for the whole day, and then come back in the evening and eat again. So you would have like 2 meals in a day, which are spaced out between 6 to 7 hours. So because you do not know where my next food is going to come from, because the food was scarce, our body built up this mechanism that whenever I'm going to eat food, insulin is going to get released. I'm going to get my energy, immediate energy, but I'm also going to do is insulin has a second role of storing fat. Because the body does not know when it's going to get its next meal, my immediate reaction would be that as soon as I get food, I would want to store fat, so that when I don't get food, I can use the fat that is stored in my body to get my energy. So this is what it does, that if you were to get 2 meals in a day, the meal you eat, insulin gets released, food goes into the cells, and the cells release energy, you get the energy. Any excess amount of food that you've eaten will then get stored as fat. And when I don't get food and when I still need energy, the fat mechanism kicks in and fat burns, and then I get energy out of it. So that's the mechanism that always worked and worked really well. Now what is happening is, these days we are eating way too many times. So we are eating in the morning and then we are snacking during the day, and then we are having meals, and then we are eating late and everything. So insulin is getting overworked. So insulin is getting released again and again and again and again, because every time we are eating, insulin needs to get released and it needs to do its job. Now, because it has a side role of storing fat also, every time you're eating, you are storing some fat. And because your straight away first fuel source is the food that you're eating, it never wants to go into fat burning mode at all, because it's getting the energy from the food that you're eating. So it is not switching to the second mechanism of burning fat and getting the energy. So you have two mechanisms in the body. One is where you get energy straight from the food. If the food is not there, then the second mechanism kicks in, which is the fuel that you get from the fat reserves. So now in our current lifestyle, if we are eating all the time and we are grazing all the time, second mechanism never switches on. It's only the first mechanism which keeps kicking in, and insulin keeps telling body to store fat, store fat, store fat. So just to give you an example, I saw a PCOD patient the other day. She has been suffering from PCOD for quite some time, so we were going through her diet chart and wanted to understand what does she eat during the day. And we went through the chart, and she was told that she should eat small meals during the day so that her sugar levels are constant. So she was eating nuts in the morning, and then she was having a snack just before, like a fruit just before breakfast. Then she was having a breakfast which was normal Indian breakfast, poha, idli and things like that. Then she was having a mid-morning fruit again, and then at 3 o'clock she was having her lunch. And then at 4:30 she was having a fruit again, and at 6 o'clock she was having a tea with biscuits, 7 o'clock soup, and then 9 o'clock she was having dinner. So she was actually eating 8 meals in a day, which was spaced out every 1.5 hours. What is happening over here is that she's eating, and every time she's eating, insulin is getting released. And what is insulin doing? Every time she's eating, the 8 times, you are telling the body, store fat, store fat, store fat, store fat, store fat. And because she has PCOD, she is overweight, because that comes hand in hand with it. She's not able to lose weight, and that is because insulin is there in the system all the time. You are not able to lose the weight. So this is what is happening when we are eating way too many times. And I haven't added in this some snacking and grazing in between, that we pick up a chocolate here or a chip somewhere, and overall 10 to 12 meals in a day, making insulin getting released at least 10 to 12 times in a day. And our bodies are not designed like that. Our bodies are designed to release insulin only 2 or 3 times in a day. So how do you control this? How do you make sure that you don't have too much insulin rotating in your body? That can be only done if you are controlling the number of times you are eating. So if you're having your breakfast and your lunch and your dinner, which are spaced out every 4 hours, and then you are not eating overnight, then you are giving that break to insulin, so that when insulin goes down and you need the energy, the fat burning mode switches on. So you burn the fat when you need energy, and then when you eat, you are again getting the insulin, and then insulin goes down, and then the fat burning takes place, and then you have the meal, and then again insulin gets released, and then it gets goes down again. So when the insulin actually sees this this going down and up, it actually works really well. The reason why PCOD has become an epidemic these days is because we are eating way too many times in a day. We are not giving insulin the break that it needs. So the first and foremost thing that a PCOD person can do, who's suffering from PCOD, wants to bring the insulin levels down, because insulin is feeding into the testosterone. So we don't want insulin to be floating around in the body, because that's impacting testosterone, and then we are having all the PCOD symptoms. So the first thing that you need to look at when you are figuring out why I'm having PCOD is to look at your eating pattern. How many times are you eating, and how many times are you triggering this insulin to be released in your system? So that is something that you need to look into if you're looking at what are the factors that might be feeding into your PCOD. So I hope you found this information useful. If you have any questions regarding insulin and how it affects your testosterone, please by all means put it down on the comment section, and I'll be happy to help. If you like this video, please give us a thumbs up, share it with your friends if you feel that this information might be useful for them, and keep watching my videos, and I'll see you again very soon. Thank you.